So what do the president's choices tell us about his second-term national security priorities? For that, we turn to Jessica Tuchman Matthews, president of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. She's held posts at the State Department and on the National Security Council staff. And Reuel Gerecht, a former case officer at the CIA. He's now a senior fellow with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy. So let's step back from the two individuals we just saw Judy talk about there and tell us what these selections tell us about this administration's foreign policy, national security priorities.
I think you heard the president say it. He wants people with personal weight, with experience, and who are non-ideologues, who are open to hearing facts as they come. You know, there is a kind of personal gravitas that comes with decades of experience that you can't substitute with briefing books or anything else. It's there or it's not. Both these gentlemen have it.
Reuel Gerecht?
Well, I suspect the president's revealed his strategic vision, and particularly with the choice of Senator Hagel at Defense. I think the two men share a view that is skeptical of the use of American power abroad. I think they doubt the beneficence of American hegemony. I also suspect that in these times, economic times, the president wants someone at Defense who is willing to cut the defense budget by a substantial amount.
Well, let's talk about that because, in fact, Senator Hagel was quoted in 2011 as saying that the Defense Department is bloated and he believes that there is room for a reduction. Is that wise? Is that a way to get confirmed as Defense Secretary?
Well, there's nobody who's being honest who doesn't believe there's bloat inside the defense budget and that there are, if it's done intelligently, ways to capture several $100 billion without harming national security.
How do we know that he knows how to do it intelligently?
He can't do it alone, and that's why it's so important, this essence of qualification, which I think has been the missed central issue in this whole debate so far. The important issue is not whether he once said Jewish lobby instead of Israeli lobby. The issue is he qualified? Does he know the portfolio that he's going to be asked to carry? And in this case, I think the answer is an unequivocal yes.
Your response to that?
Well, I would say that, one, there's not hundreds of billions of dollars that you can cut from the Defense Department. I would say the Iraq and the Afghan wars revealed that actually we need to increase defense spending. In particular, I think the Navy and the Army are in serious need of repair, and that the notion that you can continue to slice away at the defense budget as a means of showing some type of restraint with the budget, I think, is a terrible, terrible mistake.
Does the president's selection of Senator Hagel in particular, but also Mr. Brennan, speak at all to his philosophy of intervention around the world? For instance, there's some discussion about what Senator Hagel's views are about whether and how we should step into or deter Iran.
He has expressed reservations about going to war and about the use of military force as a way to solve problems. I think that's a credential that the U.S. would want in every Secretary of Defense. He's seen the face of war personally, so he knows what its pluses and minuses are. But in terms of whether he's a believer in American hegemony or not, this is a guy, as I said before, who's not an ideologue. He doesn't come in with a neo-imperialist, neocon view. He comes in, he's a pragmatist. He's very like the president, I think, in that respect. And he's a listener. He doesn't, and he's open enough to hear what's being said to him. So, by non-Americans. I think it'd be very difficult to read into his appointment any particular policy on any particular question.
I disagree with that. I think Senator Hagel actually is fairly ideological in the sense that he is consistently opposed to American intervention abroad. He's, I think, very skeptical that the United States, when it exercises its force abroad, is doing the right thing, is helping the good.
Would you say that about a man who volunteered to go to Vietnam?
I don't think that's a relevant issue. I mean, I think it's quite noble and honorable that he did so, but I think if you asked his friend Senator McCain, who also went to Vietnam and suffered quite horribly, they have a different view about the exercise of American power.
But do you think that Vietnam experience and how it has influenced whatever his thinking is today is a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I would say in Senator Hagel's case it has been has profound impact. I mean, I think he's the first generation of what you might call the Vietnam syndrome, that he's scared of the use of force abroad. I would just suggest that since World War II, I think the order that we have known, the prosperous, more or less peaceful order that we have known, has been because of the exercise of American power abroad. And I think Senator Hagel was wrong on Iraq, he was wrong on Afghanistan, and I think these are very dangerous times. And he's, in fact, in serious disagreement with the President. I mean, the President made it very clear that if Iran does not stop its nuclear program, that he will take the United States to war to stop it.
And obviously the President is satisfied that he's appointing somebody with whom he sees eye to eye on this critical issue.
Well, you're talking about someone he seems eye to eye. Here's someone, John Brennan, someone the President is also very close to, who has been basically in his ear at the White House for some time now, and is to the extent that he's identified in the public eye at all, it is his connection to and his oversight of the drones program, the targeted killing from drones. Is that something which is going to get serious questioning on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, I think there are more serious substantive questions that are open with respect to John Brennan, although there are also the same set of strengths. This is the CIA of all government agencies has its own culture, and you need to lead it effectively. You need to be part of that culture and respected by the people inside, and he is. He has 25 years there, but he also is associated with a set of still very open policy questions.
Including enhanced interrogation, by the way.
Waterboarding, enhanced interrogation, rendition, and the use of drones, and the question about what precedents we are setting up with this very vigorous use of drones that we may not wish to live with. So to be honest, I think that Ruel's characterization of Senator Hagel is a caricature. I don't see anything in his long decades of service that qualifies for what you've just described. But I think there are real issues that that are still somewhat open with respect to
I'd take the opposite view. I think Mr. Brennan's probably going to have a fairly easy confirmation. I think the left, and some on the right, but mostly on the left, are a bit upset with his past, with rendition. Certainly people inside of the agency, I think, in the clandestine service, I still prefer to call it the Director of Operations, are a bit upset with the way Mr. Brennan flipped on the issue of aggressive interrogation, where he once was a fairly enthusiastic backer of it, and then, as they would say, changed his tune on that when he joined up with now President Obama.
Well, here's one of the interesting things. He was quoted as saying after the killing of Osama bin Laden that they had decapitated the head of the al-Qaeda snake. We now know al-Qaeda is still alive and well in different areas of the world. Was he right about that?
I think it was an overstatement.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a little bit...
but not a disqualifying one?
No, I wouldn't disqualify him for that at all. I mean, I think Mr. Brennan isn't probably, if he can get over the hurdles of the way he's conducted the drone campaign, and I don't think there are going to be that many queries about that. I think on the Republican side there's going to be more or less agreement on that, and even on the Democratic side, I don't think they're going to go against the President on this issue.
You're not crazy about either of these two nominations. You support them both. How much latitude do you think the President should have in the end in these kinds of cabinet nominations? First with you, Jessica Matthews.
Well, so you're asking what is the role of advice and consent for the Senate? To my mind, it is largely a question of qualification. And I think both these two nominees pass that bar by a long shot.
Ruel, correct?
Well, I mean, I think it's a fairly elastic issue. I mean, the Senate obviously can be fairly aggressive. It doesn't have to be. I think a certain leeway should be given to the President. But I think there should be substantial debate. I don't think there's anything wrong with the nominees going before the Senate and have to answer very vigorous questions. I think that's healthy for everybody concerned.
Ruel, correct. Jessica Tuchman Matthews, thank you both very much.
My pleasure.
Pleasure.
Still to come.